hello. As some of you know, the premiere of Survivor 44 aired 2 days ago on Wednesday night. I had an amazing time. I had like a Survivor party. I made coconut rice. We ate a lot of fresh, weird fruit. Wasn't weird. Some of it like tasted kind of weird to my mouth, and some of it we weren't sure what it was. But it was all very fun and exciting. However, I have a major issue that I simply must rant about. I'm a lot less heated about this right now than I was like 36 hours ago, because I was mad. And that is just how dirty Carolyn was done in that episode. Now, I'm extremely sorry. This is not a Carolyn was robbed video. I'm sure you can find one of those if that's your bag. I like Jam Jam a lot. I think Jam Jam played a great game. I think Jam Jam is extremely fun to watch. So, yeah. 2 thumbs up to Jam Jam. Extremely exciting. Rob Cesternino called him potentially the greatest social player of all time. I think that's very, very possibly true. I like Jam Jam just so much. However, my major issue with the season finale of Survivor 44, was the way that Carolyn was spoken about. Carolyn's storyline, so much of this season was told through the lens of Carolyn. She was definitely the main character, and so many people thought that Carolyn was going to be the winner of this season. I was sort of like, I bought that was like what the edit was doing. I wasn't like that behind her necessarily throughout. She wasn't my pick. But I would have been happy if she had won. Just as I'm happy that Jam Jam won, I would have been happy if Carson had won. But the way her narrative in the finale episode, the 3-hour finale episode, was that she was an emotional player, and that like emotional players can be strategic players, and that like you don't have to bottle up your emotions to be smart, and yada 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 yada. Which are all things that I believe. I am a person who has been told my entire life that I am too emotional, that my emotions make people uncomfortable, that my emotions are not strategic, that my emotions make me seem unsmart. So I very much resonated with this narrative of Carolyn as an emotional player, and that like she would be the first winner who was an emotional player and wasn't like mafioso, wasn't like stone cold. And that was so exciting to me, and I felt so connected to that narrative. And then, spoiler, she got no votes. She was a final 3. She was in the final 3, and she got not a single vote out of the 8 jury votes. Jam Jam got 7 and Heidi got 1. I love Heidi. I think that Heidi got like a really terrible edit, but Heidi was my pick to win from the first episode. In the first episode, I like Heidi a lot. Again, I like Jam Jam a lot. I'm caveating this a lot because I'm upset about the episode. I'm not saying that I'm upset about anything that happened, but the narrative being Carolyn is an emotional player, and Carolyn's win would mean that like emotional playing is a valid way to win the game, and then her getting absolutely 0 votes reads to me as an emotional person watching it like an indictment of the emotional player. And the people on the jury, specifically Franny and Lauren, saying like, oh, Carolyn, I'm so inspired by you. Like, you really have changed the way that I think about my own emotions, and I feel like I can be more free and be more myself. Like, it feels so patronizing when you are then saying to her like, but like not enough to give you $1 million, not enough to vote for you, like pat on the head. It was tough for me to watch the way that narrative formed over the course of that episode, that the way that Carolyn played the game was being built up as like, if Carolyn won, this is a validation of emotion. Like, this is a validation of women crying. And then she didn't get the votes. She didn't get a single vote. She didn't get a single person who thought that that was a valid way to play, or a winning way to play. And that was really, really tough to watch as an emotional person who has also received so many of those comments over the course of my life. Carolyn is now being talked about as like a big character in Survivor, and like one of the more groundbreaking characters. Also, it would have been amazing if a queer woman had won. A queer woman has never won this show in 44 seasons. An out queer woman, we obviously don't know. There's not been anyone who has been a winner who has come out afterwards. There's no one who was out when they won who was a woman. Extremely exciting that Jam Jam is the first queer man in 15 years to win, only the third queer man ever, the first queer person of color to win, the first Puerto Rican winner, from Puerto Rico. We are extremely excited about the Jam Jam win. There was just like multiple things about the way that Carolyn's narrative was formed in the episode that extremely bummed me out, and for me really overshadowed being excited about Jam Jam's win and being excited about the episode in general and the culmination of the season. So hashtag justice for Carolyn. I hope that we see a lot more emotional players moving forward, and that we understand that a social game is able to be an emotional game, that's how we are as people. We are emotional people, and we connect with each other in a social way with our emotions, and that we get a lot of players who are too much, or who are over the top, or who are characters, or who don't know how to hide their emotions, or who have amazing facial expressions, because it was so impactful for me as a 26-year-old woman to watch. And I was extremely bummed about the narrative that it felt like that episode was arguing, even if that wasn't intentional. That's even if none of the jury or none of the editors or the producers were trying to say being emotional is bad, that is how it felt to me, having watched that episode and the arc of Carolyn over the course of the season. Was that, like, implicitly that's the argument that was being made about her character. And I just called her a character, but she's like a person. She's not like a caricature, she's like a person, and she's not the only person in the world who acts the way she does and feels the way she does. Anyway, hashtag justice for Carolyn. I hope we see a lot more of her. Really fun season. Excited for 45. But grumble about the last episode.